entire car market is in a big chaos. From massive layoffs to unsold vehicles piling up, the latest news has shocked the entire car industry. But this is only the beginning. It is like a domino. Everything will be affected by this. So what's really going on behind the scenes? And why should you care? Are you unknowingly paying more for cars while dealerships quietly profit? I'm about to reveal the truth behind this crisis. Is this a new era? Is the entire car market on the verge of collapse? Stellantis, one of the world's biggest automotive giants, has just announced it will lay off over 1,000 employees, blaming poor market conditions. But while external factors like rising interest rates and shifting consumer tastes are partly to blame, some insiders insist that flawed decisions at the top, from product strategy to pricing, may have turned this challenge into a full-blown crisis. Not long ago, many believed that industry titans like Stellantis were too big to fall, but now vehicles are stuck on lots, ballooning costs squeeze profits, and fickle consumer demand is throwing old sales tactics out the window. Remember those 0% financing deals that practically sold cars by themselves? They're gone, replaced by timid buyers who are staying away in droves. And if you think it's just Stellantis dealing with the fallout, buckle up. Rumors suggest other manufacturers and even brands once hailed as rock solid are feeling the tremors. Executives are in panic mode, shareholders want answers, and dealers don't know which way to turn. Is this just a passing storm or something more permanent? Word on the street is that two of the industry's most reliable names are battling their own secret nightmares, poised to spill over into the headlines any day now. So keep your eyes peeled, because what's happening behind those corporate doors might change everything we thought we knew about the stability of car manufacturing. And trust me, it goes deeper than any of us expected. Nightmares and trouble. Federal regulators claim that millions of vehicles from household names like Honda and Acura are literally shutting down overnight. These warnings have rattled longtime brand loyalists who assumed their purchases would offer unmatched reliability. At the same time, Toyota owners are waking up to messages from dealerships announcing new engine replacements. It's a remarkable blow for a company famous for legendary dependability. When people hear Toyota, they usually think of cars running flawlessly for decades. Now, those same folks are second-guessing their choices. Stories about sudden breakdowns, unusual engine replacements, and mechanical glitches are spreading, causing many buyers to reassess which automaker truly delivers peace of mind. If even the once indestructible Honda or the bulletproof Toyota can falter, what does that say about the rest of the industry? The faith consumers had in these brands didn't vanish overnight, but it's eroding quickly. Manufacturer assurances that everything will be resolved don't always calm a public used to hearing how their investment in a Honda or Toyota was supposed to spare them these exact headaches. You'd expect outright panic among buyers, but the real shock is that Toyota dealerships have taken a bold step to counteract the bad press. Many are now slashing thousands off their vehicles' MSRPs just to move stock before more negative headlines hit. Price reductions of this scale would have been unthinkable not long ago, underscoring how rapidly trust has faded. And that's just one example. Let's step onto the dealership lots to see how this is playing out at ground level. A graveyard of unsold cars. Walk onto a dealership lot today and you'll see row upon row of unsold cars, like a graveyard of Broncos, Tacomas, and more. This isn't some rare region-specific anomaly. From bustling cities to small towns, Ford and Toyota dealerships alike are overflowing with inventory they can't seem to move. One glance at aisles of Broncos, models once so scarce and in demand that dealers could tack on jaw-dropping markups, shows how drastically the market has flipped. And then there's the 2025 stock starting to arrive. Yet these older vehicles are still sitting. How can dealerships manage the growing pileup? The answer might be a bit of a shock, but it's one that could give you an advantage if you know what to look for. Prices are dropping faster than anyone anticipated, which might sound like great news for buyers, but the deeper truth is that everyone involved, manufacturers, dealers, and consumers, is facing turbulent times. Dwindling trust in once reliable brands only makes matters worse, but discounted prices are only half the story. There's an even bigger shakeup brewing behind corporate doors: the endless effects. When entire assembly lines halt and production gets slashed by 200,000 units, you know something huge is at stake. Stellantis has made dramatic cuts in an attempt to protect profit margins, revealing a drop of around 50% compared to last year. Their solution? Slow down manufacturing of certain models so that supply aligns more closely with weakened demand. By limiting how many new trucks or SUVs roll off the line, they hope to keep their balance sheets in the black. Yet for every step the manufacturer takes to throttle production, dealership lots remain jam-packed with vehicles that have overstayed their welcome. The logic behind cutting output is straightforward. If fewer new models flood the market, leftover inventory might finally clear. But that optimism bumps against a harsh reality. Consumers aren't eager to snap up what's already there. Sales teams lament the mismatch between lofty manufacturer goals and real-world consumer interest. High-priced trucks, large SUVs, and older year models represent a perfect storm of buyer reluctance. But here's the real bombshell. Even if companies like Stellantis reduce how many units roll out of the factory, it doesn't magically solve the unsold backlog sitting on dealership property. Higher trims, expensive add-ons, and lingering doubts about reliability issues make many vehicles a tough sell. That leaves dealerships to juggle frantic promotions and aggressive financing just to stay afloat. In some cases, they're contending with multiple years of unclaimed inventory. It's a dire scenario. The factories are producing fewer vehicles, yet the lots haven't cleared. So we need to zoom in on the specific brand dramas, because some are cutting corners and others are cutting entire product lines. Unsold giants. It's surreal to see row upon row of trucks bearing the familiar Jeep, Dodge, and Ram badges all sitting silently in dealership lots. For years, these brands had near mythical status among truck enthusiasts, often prized for their rugged performance and towing power. But the momentum has slowed, and buyers appear more cautious than ever. Vehicles from 2023 and 2024, once hot commodities, now sit unloved, collecting dust despite steep discounts plastered across windshields. Dealers insist that incentives from manufacturers aren't nearly enough to lure customers back in. Some point to broader economic challenges like higher interest rates and softening consumer confidence, but others blame the automakers for oversaturating the market. Whatever the cause, the result is the same: unused inventory piling up under the hot sun, while sales teams scramble for any tactic that might help them hit monthly targets. Customers, meanwhile, have become far more hesitant. Many are wary of inflation-driven prices and wonder if they truly need a new truck right now. Others have heard whispers of mechanical hiccups, tarnishing the once ironclad reputation of these domestic powerhouses. Social media amplifies every disgruntled owner's complaint, adding a fresh layer of skepticism for would-be buyers who keep scrolling past pictures of idle Rams and Jeeps. Some dealerships have turned to panic-driven price cuts, undercutting competitors and hoping the lower margins will be offset by sheer volume. But when the volume never materializes, those reduced prices morph into a financial sinkhole. Add in the looming threat of lost future allocations. If they can't sell this inventory, manufacturers may cut back next season's shipments, and the pressure intensifies. Manufacturers in turn face a predicament. They know slashing production lines by hundreds of thousands of units can stabilize supply, but those measures often come too late. By the time they decide to slow output, the lots are already crowded with vehicles that nobody wants at current price points. Trucks once viewed as symbols of American grit now stand like monuments to miscalculation, each day on the lot eroding profits, brand image, and dealer morale. It turns out that even large-scale production cuts might not be enough to restore order. The backlog is massive, and potential buyers aren't budging as quickly as the industry would hope. Recalls redefined. Recalls used to dominate headlines for Ford, which wore the most recalled badge for what felt like an eternity. That dubious honor now belongs to Ram, and it's hammering the brand's credibility. The moment a recall hits, social media lights up with outrage and memes, labeling these trucks as lemons or trash trucks. In an age where viral negativity travels faster than any official press release, Ram's reputation is taking significant hits. Owners find themselves scheduling repair appointments, juggling replacement parts, and wondering what else might fail next. Prospective buyers are even more skeptical. Why bet on a truck that might need multiple visits to the shop within its first year? It doesn't help that consumer watchdog groups and automotive forums have amplified these complaints, making it impossible for Ram's marketing teams to control the narrative. Brand perception is everything in the automotive world. A truck can boast tremendous horsepower and torque, but if rumors of engine failures persist, that raw performance means little. Word-of-mouth warning carries more weight than any glossy brochure, and each new recall cements that wariness in the public mind. Lawsuits and extended warranties add another layer of financial strain, forcing both Ram and its dealers into damage control mode. The word reliable once felt synonymous with these domestic brands, but the landscape has changed. Now, reliability is the main question on everyone's lips, and Ram's latest lineup struggles to provide a reassuring answer. But if you think recalls are the only storm the industry faces, there's a whole other layer hidden behind slick dealership facades. Tactics of desperation. Step beyond the showroom floor and you'll discover program vehicles and service loaner fleets. What sound like standard industry terms are often code for moving unsold stock in creative ways. It works like this: if a dealership labels a slow-moving truck or SUV as a fleet or loaner vehicle, it can be recorded as sold for bookkeeping purposes. This helps dealerships keep their official numbers high, which in turn affects the flow of new inventory they receive from manufacturers. In some places, entire rows of Buick SUVs live under these program tags, signifying they were likely intended for retail but never found an actual buyer. It's a balancing act. So long as the market remains sluggish, dealers can shuffle vehicles around on spreadsheets, claiming nominal sales to maintain good standing with their parent companies. Yet this can backfire spectacularly. Every vehicle on the lot costs money in financing and maintenance, especially if it doesn't generate real revenue. If a dealership accumulates too many program vehicles, its floor plan costs soar. In a best case scenario, the market recovers and those units eventually sell. In a worst case scenario, dealers drown under the weight of unsold metal and mounting interest payments. Survival can breed ingenuity, but there's a thin line between creativity and desperation. When a dealership's immediate fix is to artificially boost sales numbers, its long-term viability becomes even more precarious. A short-term win can mutate into a devastating blow if actual consumer demand never bounces back. Some automakers, meanwhile, are heading down a different path altogether, betting big on lavish SUVs in an era that seems hungry for affordability. The Grand Wagoneer gamble. Consider the decision to discontinue the Ram 1500 Classic, an entry-level workhorse, while accelerating production of the Grand Wagoneer, a massive luxury SUV easily topping $120,000. It's a move that has left many scratching their heads. When families are tightening their belts and looking for modest monthly payments, who exactly is the target market for these towering high-end machines? The Grand Wagoneer exudes opulence, premium materials, top-of-the-line tech, and a cabin more akin to a private lounge than a typical SUV. But its lofty price tag places it out of reach for most middle-class buyers. Even affluent shoppers who might have purchased a Land Cruiser or an Escalade now have to be convinced to embrace a Stellantis offering in the same league. Dealerships saddled with multiple Grand Wagoneers find it tough to move these behemoths. Salespeople try to highlight the advanced features, the plush interior, the commanding road presence. Yet many prospective buyers hesitate, worrying about future resale value. If the SUV doesn't hold its perceived luxury status, it risks plummeting in worth, leaving owners buried under negative equity. This approach can feel like a high-stakes bet for the manufacturer. Bet big on prestige vehicles that deliver higher profit margins per unit, or cater to the larger market seeking more practical, affordable rides. Stellantis swung for the fences, discontinuing cheaper trucks and leaning into premium SUVs. The outcome so far isn't reassuring. Unsold luxury stock sits in rows, draining resources while overshadowing the brand's more accessible models. Chasing those luxury margins may backfire, leaving dealers with an overabundance of expensive SUVs that few can afford. In a market desperate for budget-friendly options, these high-end giants stand out like cautionary tales, reminding everyone that building the right vehicle for the moment is crucial. This is the state of the car market now. Unsold trucks, recalls shaking brand credibility, dealer tactics bordering on desperation, and lavish SUVs chasing an elusive market segment. Amid the chaos, one thing remains clear: no single brand or strategy is guaranteed to emerge unscathed. One glaring mistake. Toyota once reigned supreme in consumer trust, thanks to engines that seemed destined to run forever. Then came the shift to V6 turbos in models like the Tundra, a decision that hit the brand's reliability image hard. Rumors of failing engines spread like wildfire on social media, and it didn't take long for buyers to grow skeptical. Even though Toyota quickly recalled and fixed these vehicles, the damage was done. Nothing erodes faith in a car brand faster than an unexpected breakdown of its cornerstone trait: dependability. Lost trust isn't something you can simply win back with rebates or flashy ads. Over decades, Toyota built an aura of being practically bulletproof, and owners came to expect a smooth ownership experience with minimal repairs. The moment that expectation was shattered, the whole relationship changed. In a market already jittery about economic uncertainty, the slightest hint of unreliability can be a deal breaker. Interestingly, some automakers that stuck to simpler engineering approaches find themselves now enjoying an edge. In an era of complex tech, fewer moving parts may mean fewer headaches, and that resonates with cautious consumers. They're no longer dazzled by horsepower or gadgetry alone. They want to be sure that 3 years from now, they won't be fielding recall notices and downtime at the service center. But does this edge really matter in an industry beset by deeper problems? Let's see how other manufacturers are scrambling to adapt. Losing consumer trust. For generations, Honda was practically a synonym for reliability. People trusted Civics and Accords to last well beyond the 200,000-mile mark with minimal fuss. Now, cracks are showing, most visibly through a ballooning day supply of vehicles sitting on lots. Honda dealerships have more stock than they can reasonably move, indicating that production surpassed actual buyer interest. How did such a stalwart fall into oversupply? One theory points to the frantic scramble to capture pent-up demand once supply chain issues eased. In a bid to seize every possible sale, Honda revved up production, but inflation, rising interest rates, and mounting fears of a broader economic slowdown made consumers pull back just as inventory began to arrive. Even Honda's reputation couldn't fully shield it from this mismatch between ambition and reality. A silver lining exists for buyers who are still in the market. Many dealers now list models under MSRP. Bargains like these were almost unthinkable a short time ago, when demand far outweighed supply. Still, no automaker likes to see its prized vehicles sold at a discount. It signals trouble, both in terms of brand prestige and revenue streams. Manufacturing remains expensive, and every unsold car that sits too long undercuts profit margins. But the true roots of this crisis extend well beyond factory floors. Layoffs and production cuts aren't just a story about cars, they're part of a larger economic drama. Crashes run deeper. It's tempting to see dealership layoffs or assembly line shutdowns as isolated incidents in the auto industry. The ripple effect, however, spreads much farther. Parts suppliers face reduced orders, which means they either downsize or risk collapse. Financing companies see fewer loan applications, dampening their own profits. Local economies that depend on these manufacturing and supply jobs struggle when plants lay off workers or cut hours. High inflation compounds these woes. Rising prices force families to think twice about big purchases, especially a new car with a hefty monthly payment. Meanwhile, increased interest rates make financing less attractive, pushing some consumers to delay or skip buying altogether. The cars, now manufactured in greater numbers, end up languishing in dealership lots. Major automakers have reported painful drops in profits, some as high as 50% year over year. These companies have responded by slashing production by hundreds of thousands of vehicles to avoid pushing more unsellable inventory onto already burdened dealers. Even GM, long considered a bright spot for weathering storms better than its rivals, has turned to layoffs as a preemptive move to protect its balance sheets. This uniform belt tightening suggests the situation runs deeper than a mere market hiccup. So, is this a fleeting slump or the onset of a more significant shift? Analysts search for hints of recovery, such as improving parts availability or possible rate cuts by central banks. But clear signs of relief remain elusive. Manufacturers may need to rethink everything from product lineups to distribution methods if they hope to stay afloat. Future transformations. Against this backdrop of uncertainty, some automakers are doubling down on new ventures. Electric vehicles, once a niche segment, appear increasingly central to corporate roadmaps. They promise lower emissions and potential government incentives, which might lure buyers looking for both environmental benefits and modern design. But EVs also come with premium price tags and require charging infrastructure still lacking in many regions. It's far from guaranteed that those who hesitate on a traditional car will leap enthusiastically toward an electric one. Others muse about going direct to consumer. By cutting out traditional dealerships, they can theoretically control inventory more tightly and pass some cost savings onto the buyer. But this radical approach risks alienating dealer networks that have been the backbone of car sales for generations. Flexible leasing programs or subscription models are also on the table, each offering a way to lessen the burden of a large down payment and long-term loan. Dealerships themselves may need to transform if they want to remain relevant. Some have already begun offering virtual showrooms, remote test drives, and concierge-style delivery. Unique financing incentives, like deferred payments or more lenient credit thresholds, aim to bring buyers off the fence. Yet these gambles hinge on consumer confidence that's shaky at best. No matter the gimmick, if the public isn't ready to buy, sales won't rebound overnight. A growing fear looms. If dealerships fail to adapt, entire networks could vanish faster than anyone imagined. Online retailers already disrupted everything from bookstores to electronics chains. Cars could be next in line, leaving once bustling showrooms abandoned if automakers shift their strategies en masse. In this swirling uncertainty, one thing is clear: the auto industry is at a crossroads. No brand, no technology, and no sales tactic stands guaranteed to thrive. Traditional playbooks seem increasingly outdated, and cautious customers keep a wary eye on both economic trends and automotive headlines. Whether this period becomes a minor stumbling block or a transformational upheaval may hinge on which players are bold and flexible enough to reshape their entire approach. Reading the road wrong. Could it all boil down to one glaring mistake? Failing to read what real people actually want. Toyota's recent pivot to V6 turbos might have seemed bold, yet the fallout has been a blow to its long-held reputation for bulletproof reliability. The Tundra engine recall sent shockwaves through loyal owners, triggering anxiety that spread far beyond internet forums. Once trust erodes, it's an uphill battle to convince buyers that everything is back to normal. In the end, it isn't just about money lost, it's about relationships fractured when a brand decides to take risks that don't align with consumer expectations. Honda, for a long time revered as a beacon of dependability, finds itself in a similar bind. Its day supply of inventory recently surged by 14 days, highlighting an overstock problem nobody anticipated. Building too many cars is costly, yet withholding production risks losing the momentum of past successes. The tension between cranking out enough vehicles and not overwhelming dealers has left manufacturers walking a fine line. The result is a market saturated with extra inventory that forces dealers to cut prices. Ironically, that can benefit shoppers, who may now find certain models under MSRP for the first time in years. The real shock: as these price cuts continue, manufacturers scramble for ways to salvage both profits and brand loyalty. Some believe a buyer's market is on the horizon, though it's a precarious victory. Saving a few $1,000s on a new car hardly matters if the brand behind it remains on shaky ground. But is this edge, offering discounts and appealing deals, enough to rescue an industry teetering on collapse? That question looms over the showrooms, casting doubt on whether short-term bargains can heal deeper wounds of eroded consumer confidence. But before anyone celebrates, a larger economic force lurks beyond the factory walls, threatening to make these current challenges seem trivial by comparison. The looming reckoning. Market crashes aren't just about cars. There's a bigger economic monster lurking behind these factory shutdowns. Layoffs and production cuts send ripples through entire supply chains, from the smallest part suppliers to the financing arms supporting dealership operations. Interest rates continue to climb, eroding would-be buyers' willingness to take on fresh debt. Inflation chips away at disposable income, shrinking the pool of consumers ready to sign on the dotted line. Even so-called industry darlings like GM have felt the sting, announcing layoffs despite posting otherwise solid earnings. Nobody is fully immune when the broader economic forecast darkens. Still, a few potential silver linings shine through. Some experts suggest that efficient new production methods and innovative supply chain management could help stave off a total collapse. Others point to electric vehicles as a chance for manufacturers to recast themselves in a greener, more modern light, if they can navigate the complexities of charging infrastructure and public skepticism. Meanwhile, dealers experiment with more flexible leasing programs or direct-to-consumer models that promise to eliminate middlemen and streamline costs. Yet none of these fixes come without risks or controversy. Is the future of car buying about to transform forever? Brace yourself for unexpected solutions that might save or doom dealers in the process. Automated showrooms, online ordering, and subscription-like car ownership models all flirt with becoming the next big thing. If manufacturers can't adapt quickly, entire dealership networks may vanish, leaving behind only the faint echo of a once thriving industry. And if they do adapt, what emerges could be unrecognizable from the car market we knew, a reality where innovation fights tradition and consumer choice holds the power to reshape it all. But what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe now for more eye-opening insights and in-depth automotive news.